Okay, so last session we saw about the author on how we should fix our beliefs, and basically the author said that we have to have 4 5 points. That is we have to truly believe that anything can happen, and we have to truly believe that uh, we don't need to know what will happen next to make money, and we have to truly believe that there is a random distribution between winning and losing, and we have to truly believe that the edge or our system, it is just a probability, and every moment in the market is actually unique. So the author wants us to fix these things in our belief, and he's basically setting the foundation for that. And why we don't perceive that each moment is a new moment is that because of our fears. Okay, and we are expecting something in the future, and as a result we expect that to happen. We are projecting our belief into the future, so but our beliefs are wrong. So that is why, so if we believe, if our beliefs are fixed, then we will project that belief into the future. So instead of if we truly believe that every moment in the market is unique, then we'll project that in the future, right? And so for that, an author is defining certain things. Basically, he's establishing the foundation. So what is your objective? Your objective is to make money, but uh, if that is the objective, then you wouldn't be reading this book, right? Because you will not be reading this book because you actually reading this book to be consistent, and to be so your objective is not to make money. Your objective is to make consistent money, consistent result, and for that you have to acquire and certain master certain skills. Okay, and for these skills to acquire, you should stop focusing on the money and look at trading as how you can use the trading as a tool to acquire these skills. And what are all the skills? So that is a consistent result, right? And what is consistency? Basically, you don't care. You are objective. It has come to this particular point, and you're basically available to perceive whatever the market is giving. It could win or could lose, right? And what does mean by carefree? Carefree means you're confident, but you're not euphoric. Like you're not going to tell. You know that there is always a probability, and accept that risk completely. And that is what the 5 fundamental truths of the market is. And what is objectivity? Basically, you have access to everything you have learned, and since you are open, you are not blocked with the information. And what does making available means? You just have to make yourself available. You don't have to prove anything, right? And what is now moment? Basically, you don't associate any past experience with the present expectation. And how all the 5 fundamental truths basically the author is trying to tell is that you know that anything can happen, and any one particular trader can make or break our behavior trading output. And since market is a random distribution between wins and lose, you don't know whether you will win or lose. You don't need to know what is going to happen next, right? And so you won't expect, right? So if you think that it is random, then you will not expect. But if you want some definite, then what will happen? You want to be right, and you want the market to make you winner. You want the market to go in your direction, and you want it to you want you know you want to take advantage of every opportunity, right? But if you don't believe in those things, you will have only main two things. One is how much you can lose, and whether you have an edge. The third one is you won't know what will happen next, and anything can happen. So the only thing which you can have is the first 2 points. The other two is you will basically won't have. You will tell to yourself that you don't know what will happen. You will basically tell that anything can happen, right? So the third one is that there is a random distribution. If you think that it is not like consequently you will make winnings or consequently you will lose, there is always a probability of you winning or losing. You will simply take a trade without any hesitation, right? And you will not neither have the fear of missing out, or you will not neither have the fear of losing, right? And the fourth one is basically any trade which you take, it's an edge. If you believe it's an edge, it's just a higher probability, right? And you basically, if you accept it, it's a higher probability, you will simply accept it. There is a chance, that's it. And finally, when you think that every other moment in the market is unique, you look at every candle, every moment in the market as a new information, right? So you will not associate with any previous particular experiences, patterns, and you will still be open. It might fail or it might not fail, right? So you will not be trying to be right. You will basically, as a result, what will happen, you will always be ready to accept the risk. So with these things, these 5 beliefs the author is trying to tell, and then now the author is trying to tell how we can move towards the zone. Moving towards the zone. When you completely accept the psychological realities of the market, you will correspondingly accept the risks of trading. When you accept the risks of trading, you eliminate the potential to define market information in painful ways. When you stop defining and interpreting market information in painful ways, there is nothing for your mind to avoid, nothing to protect against. When there is nothing to protect against, you will have access to all that you know about the nature of market movement. Nothing will get blocked, which means you will perceive all the possibilities you have learned about. And since your mind is open to a true exchange of energy, you will quite naturally start discovering other possibilities that you formerly could not perceive. So, author is again telling the same thing. Once you have accepted all the things, risks, you will accept the risk also. Basically, so when you accept the risk, you know that you will lose. You will honestly know that you are going to lose money. And as a result, what is happening? You know that you have accepted it is going to lose. So you will stop defining market and you will start being open, and nothing to tell whatever you are right or wrong or something. There is just information exchange. For your mind to be open to a true exchange of energy, you cannot be in a state of knowing or believing that you already know what is going to happen next. When you are at peace with not knowing what is going to happen next, you can interact with the market from a perspective where you will be making yourself available to let the market tell you from its perspective what is likely to happen next. At that point, you will be in the best state of mind to spontaneously enter the zone where you are tapped into the now moment opportunity flow. Okay, so with this, we kind of end this particular chapter. Basically, when you are in this particular, when you have understood these beliefs, you will be actually in a state of openness. So you will not be in a state where you already know what is going to happen, or you something like that. Then at that particular when that particular state where you are open, where you don't know what will happen, you will be open to the market. There will be information exchange which will happen, and that is the state where you will enter the zone. Okay, and when you enter the zone, you are actually in the now moment opportunity flow. Chapter 9. the nature of beliefs. At this point, if you can sense the benefits of adopting the 5 fundamental truths about trading, then the task is to learn how to properly integrate these truths into your mental system as core beliefs that are not in conflict with any other beliefs you may hold. At first glance, this may seem like a and daunting task. And under other circumstances, I would agree with you, but it won't be, because in chapter 11, I'll give you a simple trading exercise specifically designed to properly install these truths as beliefs at a functional level. So the author here is telling that, if we fundamentally agree with these 5 fundamental beliefs, and if we, adopt these fundamental truths as our belief, and we have to basically have to learn how to believe that, so that it is not in conflict with other beliefs which we have. What are the other beliefs? Like, we will be right, and it should go in the way, we have to make money, we have to be profitable, we should not lose money. These kind of beliefs should not be conflicting, right? And the other is saying that, it might sound difficult to accept that, but he's telling that at chapter 11 he'll give an exercise on how to accept these things. But now we are in chapter 9. A functional level is one where you find yourself just naturally operating out of a carefree state of mind, perceiving exactly what you need to do and doing it without hesitation or internal conflict. However, I do have a word of caution for those of you who have already looked at the exercise. On the surface, the trading exercise looks so simple that you may be tempted to do it now, before you thoroughly understand the implications of what you are doing. I strongly suggest that you reconsider. There are some subtle yet profound dynamics involved in the process of learning how to install new beliefs and change any existing beliefs that are in conflict with the new ones. Understanding the trading exercise itself is easy. Understanding how to use the exercise to change your beliefs is another matter entirely. If you do the exercise without understanding the concepts present in this chapter and the next, you will not achieve the desired results. Obviously, I myself was very curious. I wanted to quickly go to chapter 11, but the author is telling not to do that. I think we have to resist our compulsivity here. The author is telling that if you do that, then it will not give you the desired results, because you have to, so there are some dynamics involved on how to install the new beliefs and how to change our existing beliefs which are conflicting with the new beliefs, right? That exercise is easy, but using that exercise to change your beliefs is a completely different thing, right? So author is asking us not to go to the chapter 11 right now, so we'll not go. It is very also important that you not take for granted the amount of mental effort you may have to expend to train your mind to fully accept these principles of success, regardless of how well you understand them. Remember Bob, the CTA, who believed he thoroughly understood the concept of probabilities, but did not have the ability to function from a probabilistic perspective. So the author is also warning that, don't take it for granted. Don't take the mental effort which you will be needing to put to accept that exercise and principles of success, even though we understood them. And he also gave the example of earlier Bob, and who was an analyst who thought he understood everything but did not. Many people make the mistake of assuming that once they understand something, the insight inherent in their new understanding automatically becomes a functional part of their identity. Most of the time, understanding a concept is only a first step in the process of integrating that concept at a functional level. This is especially true of concepts that deal with thinking in probabilities. Our mind are not naturally wired to be objective or to stay in the now moment. This means we have to actively train our minds to think from these perspectives. So here the author is telling that, just because we understand something, we immediately assume that that will be our identity. Okay. But actually the author is telling this, understanding that concept is only the first step, right? And especially in terms of when you deal with something with probabilities, because we are not naturally wired to be objective, because we are always most of the time emotional, and we are not wired to stay in the now moment. Okay, so which means we have to train our minds to think from these perspectives on how to be objective, like, because we are emotional, right? So we don't want to be emotional, we want to be objective, and we want to stay in the now moment. In addition to the training involved, there may be any number of conflicting beliefs to work through. Conflicting beliefs will have the effect of sabotaging your best intentions to operate from an objective state of mind or to experience the now moment opportunity flow. For example, let us say you have spent years learning how to read the markets or spent large sums of money developing or buying technical systems just so you could find out what was going to happen next. Now you have come to understand that you don't have to know what is going to happen next, and that even trying to know will detract from your ability to be objective or to stay in the moment. What we have is a direct conflict between your old belief that you need to know what will happen next to be successful, and your new understanding that you don't need to know. Yeah. So here it is, the author is uh, putting the first conflict, right? So what is the first conflict? Uh, for an example, he's giving one example. So what is your conflict mean? So he has given some beliefs and we have some beliefs. Those two are conflicting. So how? So for example, so far we would have spent a lot of money on studying new strategies and systems and new indicators. We might have purchased TradingView Pro and all these things, so that we will train our mind to be a little bit to know what will happen next, right? But what is a newer belief? The author is telling that you don't need to know what is going to happen next. So that is going to conflict, right? So now, will your new understanding suddenly neutralize all the time money and energy expanded on reinforcing the belief that you need to know? I wish it were that easy, and for some lucky few, it may be. If you will recall in chapter 4, when I talked about psychological distance in relationship to software code, I said that some traders may already be so close to these new perspectives that all they need to is put together a few of the missing pieces to create a mind altering aha experience. So now the author is telling that I just gave you an example where I said not, you don't need to know anything for the next moment, but you have actually believed, you have spent a lot of time studying all the trading systems and for you to know what will happen next moment. Now, not this thing, just because you have I give you the direct conflict, will you quickly, will this neutralize your old belief? The author is telling that for some it may be, and but uh, how some it may be. That is what the author is telling. However, based on my experience of working with well over 1,000 of traders, I can say that most are not close to these perspectives at all. So yeah, for just because he has given some conflict doesn't mean that we will quickly accept that. Majority will not accept. That's what the author is telling. For those of you who are not, it may take a considerable amount of mental work over a considerable amount of time to properly integrate your new understandings about trading into your mental environment. The good news is that ultimately the exercise I present in chapter 11 will install the 5 fundamental truths and resolve many of the potential conflicts, but only if you know exactly what you are doing and why you are doing it. That is the subject of this and the next chapter. Okay, so the author is now telling that most of them will not accept this contradicting belief, and there is a good news that he will tell in the chapter 11 where he will resolve these conflicts, but only if you know what we are doing and why we are doing it. Okay, so this chapter and the next chapter is going to tell what we'll be doing and why we'll be doing. Okay, the origins of a belief. What can we learn about the nature of beliefs, and how can we use that knowledge to create a mindset that fosters our desire to be consistently successful trader? These are the two questions I'm going to focus on answering in this chapter. So as he said, he's going to do the what part in this chapter, and why part he will do in the next chapter. So what is the what part? He's going to teach us what our beliefs are, and how we can use that, nature of belief, so that we can change our mindset, so that which will basically internally in turn make us a consistent successful trader. First, let us look at the origin of our beliefs. As you may recall, memories, distinctions, and beliefs exist in the form of energy, specifically structured energy. Earlier, I lumped these three mental components together to illustrate that memories, distinctions, and beliefs do not exist as physical matter, that the cause and effect relationship that exists between ourselves and the external environment brings these components into existence, and how the cause and effect relationship reverses so that we can perceive in the external environment what we have learned about. So, for this, the author is trying to tell about the what you call as the belief system. So earlier, the author said about the memory, right? And memories, they are not going to exist as as a physical matter, right? And what is the next one? The cause and effect relationship that exists between ourselves and the external. Yeah, so basically there is some external environment which is the cause, and as a result we have some belief. For example, in that uh, dog biting the boy, mm, just because one dog bit the boy is now always scared of dogs. So there is a belief in the boy that all dogs will bite. And how the cause and effect relationship reverses so that we can perceive in the external environment what we have learned about. This is the same thing, right? To get at the origins of our beliefs, we are going to have to unbundle these components to illustrate the difference between a memory and a belief. The best way to do this is to imagine ourselves in the mind of an infant. I would think that at the very beginning of a child's life, the memories of his experiences would exist in their purest form. By that, I mean that the memories of what he has seen, heard, smelled, touched, or tasted exist in his mind as a pure sensory information that is not organized or attached to any specific words or concepts. Therefore, I am going to define a pure memory as sensory information stored in its original form. So, to now the author is trying to tell what are we going to do about our this concept called belief, right? And for that, he is now taking us to our childhood, where the first time when we heard, when we see, we don't, when we smell, say for example, some word we might think now as bad word, but the first time when we heard it, we won't associate it as a good or bad. We simply hear that sound. We store that sound as a memory. Similarly, maybe smell we might feel. I don't know about the childhood, but yeah. And even you are a baby, I think you won't know that it's a good smell or bad smell. And when you touch, it's a good touch or bad touch. Or when you taste, you don't. Even though it might have been bad, you will not remember. It will just there as a information, right? A belief, on the other hand, is a concept about the nature of the way the external environment expresses itself. A concept combines pure sensory information with a symbol system we call language. For example, most infants have a pure memory of how it feels to be lovingly nurtured by a parent. But it isn't until the infant is taught to link or associate certain words with the pure sensory information stored in his memory that he will form a concept about how it feels to be lovingly nurtured. So, obviously, we would have been loved by our parents, but until there is something called language, and we have to be taught this particular language so that we can express this concept of lovingly nurtured. The phrase life is wonderful is a concept. By themselves, the words doesn't make up a meaningless collection of abstract symbols. But if a child is either taught or decides to connect these words to his positively charged feelings of being nurtured, then the letters are no longer a collection of abstract symbols and the words are no longer an abstract phrase. Life is wonderful becomes a definitive distinction about the nature of existence or the way the world works. By the same token, if the child did not get enough nurturing relative to his needs, he could just as easily link his feelings of emotional pain to a concept like life isn't fair or the world is an awful place. In any case, when the positive or negative energy from our memories or experiences become linked to a set of words we call a concept, the concept becomes energized and as a result is transformed into a belief about the nature of reality. Okay. So, in this particular paragraph, the author is telling that, we are basically associating that life is wonderful with the positive, uh, you know, charged feelings of being nurtured. Okay. And if he is not nurtured properly, he will just link, his emotional pain with the words like life isn't fair, world is an awful place. Okay, so we have something called a concept. Okay, and what is a concept? A concept is basically life isn't fair or life is wonderful or something like that. And this concept becomes energized, right? And it is that is how we get that belief. Okay, so when the positive or negative energy from our memories or experiences become linked to a set of words we call a concept, the concept becomes energized and as a result is transformed into a belief about the nature of reality. So if you consider that concepts are structured by the framework of a language and energized by our experiences, it becomes clear why I refer to these beliefs as structured energy. Okay, so these are all some vague energies, just like how the baby first had its own experience of, warmth or smell or taste or something. But if it is associated with the words, basically you become, this is what we call as concept. So we are having some vague energy and we are giving a structure to that vague energy. So that is why our beliefs are called structured energy, and this concept is actually the belief, right? The world is life isn't fair or life is wonderful. These are all beliefs which each and every one of us will have. When a belief comes into existence, what does it do? What is its function? In some ways it seems ludicrous, foolish to ask those questions. After all, we all have beliefs. We are constantly expressing our beliefs both verbally and through our actions. Furthermore, we are constantly interacting with other people's beliefs as they express them. Yet, if I ask, what exactly does a belief do? Chances are your mind will go blank. Okay. So we all have beliefs and we are constantly expressing our beliefs either by verbally or by our actions, right? And we are interacting with other people's beliefs. And if you ask, but what is your belief doing? What is it doing? We don't know. Okay. On the other hand, if I were to ask about the functions of your ears, eyes, nose, or teeth, you would have no problem answering. Since beliefs are such important component parts of our makeup in terms of their impact on the quality of our lives, it certainly has to be one of life's great ironies that they are also the least thought about and understood. So the author here is telling that, you can tell what is the purpose of your eyes, what is the purpose of your ears. Obviously, you'll tell eyes are for seeing, your ears are for hearing, nose are for smelling, teeth are for biting. We can answer. But what our beliefs are for? We don't have an answer. But if you think about it, it has so much impact, but it is the least understood also, right? Because we don't have an answer for the question, what does our belief do? right? But every time we do something, it is because of our belief, right? So what I mean by least thought about is, if we have a problem with one of our body parts, we naturally focus our attention on that part and think about what we need to fix the problem. However, it doesn't necessarily occur to us that the problems we may be having with the quality of our lives, for example, lack of happiness, a sense of dissatisfaction, or lack of success in some area, are rooted in our beliefs. So, or if we tell that we have a problem with some of our body parts, we immediately focus on that part, but we don't think that our current life is in that particular state because of the belief which we have. Okay, so for example, we might not be happy because we have some belief which is causing us not to be happy. We are dissatisfied because we have some belief that this is not enough, and that is causing us to be dissatisfied. And we believe we are thinking that we are not successful because we have some belief that this is what we have, some definition in our minds rooted that that is what success is. This lack of consideration is a universal phenomenon. One of the prominent characteristics of beliefs is that they make what we experience seem self-evident and beyond question. In fact, if it weren't for your intense desire to experience consistent success as a trader, it is unlikely you would be delving into this topic at all. Usually, it takes years of extreme frustration before people begin examining their beliefs as the source of their difficulties. So, author is telling us, we don't consider these things. And in fact, we are reading this book because of our belief to be consistently successful as a trader. And usually, people, what they do, they go through years of frustration, and then only they will start examining their beliefs. Okay. However, even though beliefs are an intricate part of our identity, you don't have to take this process of self analysis so personally. Consider the fact that none of us was born with any of our beliefs. They were all acquired in a combination of ways. Many of the beliefs that have the most profound impact on our lives were not even acquired by us as an act of free will. They were instilled by other people, and it probably won't come as a surprise to anyone that usually the beliefs that cause us the most difficulty are those that were acquired from others without our conscious consent. Okay. Um, by that, I mean beliefs that we acquired when we were too young and uninformed to realize the negative implications of what we were being taught. So, the author is now telling that, we were born without any belief, and we all acquired it some combination of ways, right? And it was not even, you did not even have the choice to have those beliefs, right? They were stuffed in our brains by people around us. Okay. And most of the things which we are actually causing us the pain were actually acquired from others, okay, without our conscious consent. They did not even ask for permission to instill that belief into our brain. So, and we were too young to be, to question that. And not only that, we did not even realize the negative implications of what we were taught. Regardless of the source of our beliefs, once they are born into existence, they all basically function in the same way. Beliefs have certain characteristic ways in which they do their jobs, not unlike the various parts of our bodies. For example, if you compare my eyes and your eyes, or my hands and your hands, or my red blood cells and your red blood cells, we can see that they are not exactly the same, but they have characteristics in common that cause them to function in similar ways. By the same token, a belief that life is wonderful will perform its function in the same way as a belief that life is awful. The beliefs themselves are different, and the effect that each has on the quality of holder's life will be vastly different, but both beliefs will function in exactly the same manner. So just like, we all have different parts, we all have different, parts of the body, and your part and my part is not the same, but still the function of those parts are, you have a lot of common traits. For example, you can see with your eyes, I also can see with your eyes. You can, move, do work with your hands, I can also do the work with my hands. Your red blood cells, my red blood cells, they all do the job for which it is assigned for, although both are not same. So just like that, the author is telling that even the belief, for example, life is wonderful or life is awful, they all will do certain function in our brain. The beliefs are different, okay, but and the effect that each has on the quality of holder's life will be vastly different, but functionality wise they all same. Like how much effect it will have, and each of us will believe that, when our beliefs are different, and the effect these have on our body might, each of us might be different, but the function will be the same, right? So beliefs and their impact on our lives. In the broadest sense, our beliefs shape the way we experience our lives. As I have already said, we are not born with any of our beliefs, they are acquired, and as they accumulate, we live our lives in a way that reflects what we have learned to believe. Consider how different your life would be if you had been born into a culture, religion, or political system that has very little, if anything, in common with the one you were born into. It may be hard to imagine, but what you would have learned to believe about the nature of life and how the world works may not be remotely similar to what you currently believe. Yet, you would hold these other beliefs with the same degree of certainty as your current beliefs. Okay, so the author is telling that, we are all not born with some beliefs, we are, trusted by our environment. And the author is telling that if you are, say for example, you are in one nationality, or you are in one religion, or you are in one political wing which you have, and if you are not born in this particular nation, or if you're not born in this particular religion, and you would have born in some other particular nation and some other religion, you will have those beliefs, you will be like behaving like that particular, you will follow the rituals of that particular religion, you will follow the culture of that particular nation, things like that. And you will think that, how we are thinking that this is the right, this is my beliefs are right, you will be thinking the same way those beliefs are right if you are born in that particular environment. How beliefs shape our lives. They manage our perception and interpretation of environmental information in a way that is consistent with what we believe. They create our expectations. Keep in mind that an expectation is a belief projected into some future moment. Since we cannot expect something we don't know about, we could also say that an expectation is what we know projected into some future moment. Okay, so the belief is how we are perceiving our and interpreting the information. Okay, and not only that, these belief only creates our expectations, right? And this expectation is what, something which we are projecting into the future moment, that this is how it should happen. Okay, yeah, that is what author is telling. Anything we decide to do, or any outward expression of behavior, will be consistent with what we believe. Finally, our beliefs shape how we feel about the results of our actions. So our behavior will actually be consistent with what we believe. So we have some belief, and then similarly, when that particular action happens, because of our belief only, we will perceive or feel the result. Okay. There isn't much about the way we function that beliefs don't play a major role in. So what I'm going to do now is give you an example I used in my first book, The Disciplined Trader, to illustrate the various functions of a belief. Okay. In the spring of 1987, I was watching a locally produced television program called Gotcha Chicago. It was about some local celebrities who played practical jokes on one another. In one segment of the program, the TV station hired a man to stand on the sidewalk along Michigan Avenue holding a sign that read, "Free money today only." For those of you who are not familiar with Chicago, Michigan Avenue is home to many fashionable exclusive departmental stores and boutiques. The TV station gave the man a considerable amount of cash with instructions to give money to anyone who asked for it. Okay. Now, when you consider that Michigan Avenue is one of the busiest areas of the city, and if we assume that most of the people who passed the man on the street could read the sign, how many people would you think took him up on his offer and asked for some money? Of all the people who walked by and read the sign, only one person stopped and said, "Great, may I have a quarter to buy a bus transfer?" Otherwise, no one would even go near the man. Eventually, the man grew frustrated because people weren't reacting the way he expected them to. He started crying out, "Do you want any money? Please take my money. I can give it away fast enough." Everyone just kept walking around him as if he did not exist. In fact, I noticed that several people went out of their way to avoid him. As a man wearing a suit and carrying a briefcase approached, he went right up to him and said, "Would you like some money?" The man responded, "Not today." Really frustrated now, he shot back, "How many days does this happen? Would you please take this?" As he tried to hand the man some cash, the man responded with a terse no and walked on. What was going on here? Why wouldn't anyone except for the person who needed a bus transfer ask for the money? If we assume that most or all of the passers-by could read the sign but still didn't make any effort to get the money, then one possible explanation for their behavior is that they just didn't care about the money. This is extremely unlikely, though, considering how much of our lives is devoted to the pursuit of money. If we agree that people could read the sign and that money is very important to most of us, then what could have stopped these people from helping themselves? The environment was making available an experience that most people would love to have, someone giving them money with no strings attached. Yet everyone walked by, oblivious to what was awaiting them. They must not have been able to perceive what was available. That's hard to imagine because the sign clearly stated "free money today only." However, it is not hard to imagine if you consider that most people have a belief that free money doesn't exist. Okay. So we have a nice story where the author is, there is a guy who is uh, giving free money and nobody is taking it because they all believe that they have a belief there is no such thing called free money, right? If free money really doesn't exist, then how does someone reconcile the obvious contradiction between that belief and the sign saying that it does? That's easy. Just decide the man with the sign is crazy. What else could account for such bizarre behavior if in fact free money doesn't exist? The reasoning process that could compensate for the contradiction might go something like this. Everyone knows getting money with no strings attached rarely happens. Certainly not from a stranger on one of the busiest streets in the city. In fact, if the man were really giving away money, he would already be mobbed. He might be even endangering his life. He must be crazy. I had better take a wide path around him. Who knows what he might do? Notice that every component of the thought process described is consistent with the belief that free money doesn't exist. The words free money were neither perceived nor interpreted as they were intended from the environment's perspective. Deciding the person with the sign must be crazy created an expectation of danger, or at least a perception that caution was warranted. Purposefully altering one's path to avoid the person with the sign is an action that is consistent with the expectation of danger. How did each person feel about the outcome? That is difficult to say without knowing each person individually, but a good generalization would be that they felt relieved and they successfully avoided an encounter with a crazy person. The feeling of relief that resulted from avoiding a confrontation is a state of mind. Remember that how we feel, the relative degree of positively or negatively charged energy flowing through our bodies and minds, is always the absolute truth. but the beliefs that prompt any particular state of mind may not be the truth with respect to the possibilities available from the environment's perspective. So here the basically people avoided that particular man because they know that they have the belief that there is no such thing as free money, and that too, if it is really free, he would have been robbed, and but nobody is going near, so obviously he must be crazy, right? So, and what did the how so that is the belief which each of them had, and as a result they avoided that person. And not only that, after avoided the person, but most of them felt relieved that they avoided a crazy person, right? So that is the relief which they got. And it's all coming, that relief is coming because they had this belief that he is crazy, because they had this belief there is no such thing as free money. Okay, but what is actually the reality? The guy was actually giving a free money. That is the reality. So but our uh, you know belief is actually not accepting that. Relief from confrontation was not the only possible outcome in this situation. Imagine how different the experience would be if they believed that free money exists. The process described above would be the same, except it would make the belief that free money exists seem self evident and beyond question, just as it made the belief that free money doesn't exist seem self evident and beyond question. Okay, so uh, let me read it again. Relief from confrontation was not the only possible outcome in this situation. Okay, so obviously, if you have the corollary belief that if you believe that free money exists, right, and the belief experience would be something different, right? The same process will be there, you know, except that the belief that free money exists seems self-evident and beyond question, just as it made the belief that free money doesn't exist seem self-evident and beyond question. Okay, so you will go through similar kind of process. If you believe that free money exists, you will do something else, but you will simply believe that free money exists. A perfect example would be the person who said, "Great, may I have a quarter for a bus transfer." So obviously there was one guy who said, "Fine, give me that money." When I saw this, I had the impression this guy was probably a panhandler and basically a beggar, and would have asked anybody for a quarter. A panhandler is someone who definitely believes in the existence of free money. Therefore, his perception and interpretation of the sign were exactly what was intended by the TV station. His expectation behavior were consistent with his belief that free money exists. And how would he feel about the results? He got his quarter, and so I would assume he felt a sense of satisfaction. Of course, what he did not know is that he could have gotten a lot more. Okay. So there is this guy beggar. He comes and accepts the money. He got only a quarter. He asked for a quarter. He got the quarter, but he's happy with whatever he got. But he could have got more because the guy was basically trying to give as much money as possible. There is another possible outcome for our scenario. Let us look at a hypothetical example of someone who believes that free money doesn't exist, but who takes a what if approach to the situation. In other words, some people can be so intrigued and curious about the possibilities that they decide to temporarily suspend their belief that free money doesn't exist. This temporary suspension allows them to act outside the boundaries created by a belief in order to see what happens. So instead of ignoring the man with the sign, which would be our hypothetical person's first inclination, he walks up to him and says, "Give me $10. The man promptly pulls a $10 bill out of his pocket and gives it to him. What happens now? How does he feel, having experienced something unexpected that completely contradicted his belief? So, first scenario, he said people firmly believe that there is no such thing as free money, so they avoided. The second scenario, there was a beggar who basically believes that there's everything is for free. He just asks for a quarter and he gets it. but again, he could have gotten more, but he didn't realize that he could get more. The third one, where people think that free money doesn't exist, but what if it is there? They're basically trying to temporarily suspend that belief and to try it out, basically curious. And they go and ask him, give me $10, and the guy gives the $10 to him. So what will be the feeling at that particular time, right? For most people, the belief that free money doesn't exist is acquired through unpleasant circumstances, to put it mildly. The most common way is being told that we cannot have something because it's too expensive. How many times does the typical child hear, what do you think you are anyway? Money doesn't grow on trees, you know. In other words, it is probably a negatively charged belief. So, the experience of having money handed to him with no strings attached and without any negative comments would likely create a mind of pure elation. Okay. So, from our childhood, we would have been taught that, money doesn't come for free, money doesn't grow on trees, and, it is a negatively charged because you would have asked for something in your childhood and your parents would have said no. And so the first time when you get something, when you get money without any strings attached, without any comments, you actually become elated. In fact, most people would be so happy that they would feel compelled to share that happiness and this new discovery with everyone they knew. I can imagine him going back to his office or going home, and the moment he encounters someone he knows, the first words that come out of his mouth will be, you won't believe what happened to me today. And even though he desperately wants those he meets to believe his story, they probably won't. Why? Because their belief that free money doesn't exist will cause them to interpret his story in a way that negates its validity. To take this example a little further, imagine what would happen to this person's state of mind if it occurred to him that he could have asked for more money. He is in state of pure elation. However, the moment that thought either pops into his mind or someone he relates his story to offers the idea that he could have asked for a lot more money, his state of mind will immediately shift to a negatively charged state of regret or despair. Why? He tapped into a negatively charged belief about what it means to miss out on something or not get enough. As a result, instead of being happy over what he got, he will lament what he could have had but did not get. So, the author is explaining about, how your behavior would be. Once you got this, you will share it, but obviously others will not believe it because it contradicts with their belief. And not only that, he's now in elation, but what if someone says that he could have asked for more, instead of $10 he could have asked for $100, or someone says that I asked for $100, I got $100, you got only $10 because you asked for $10, he will immediately feel missed out. So as a result, he will start feeling the pain because that's a negatively charged belief, that you missed out something. In all three of these examples, everybody experienced their own unique version of the situation. If asked, each person would describe what he or she experienced from their perspective as if it were the only true and valid version of the reality of the situation. The contradiction between these three versions of the truth suggests to me a larger philosophical issue that needs to be resolved. If beliefs limit our awareness of the information being generated by the physical environment so that we perceive what we perceive is consistent with whatever we believe, then how do we know what the truth is? Okay. So what is the truth actually? If you ask all the three people, the first person who avoided that particular guy, the second person who asked for 1/4, the third person who asked for $10. So they will all be, telling that whatever they experience is the truth, right? But that is everything is all the three are contradicting, right? And there is a larger philosophical issue that needs to be resolved. If beliefs limit our awareness of the information being generated by the physical environment so that what we perceive is consistent with whatever we believe, then how do we know what the truth is? So what is the truth now? Okay, so there are four ideas, right? What are the four ideas? The environment can express itself in an infinite combination of ways. When you combine all the forces of nature interacting with everything created by humans, then add to that the forces generated by all the possible ways people can express versions of reality that would surely overwhelm even the most open-minded person. Okay, so basically you have infinite possibilities of uh, you know uh, ways by which our environment can express. Now if you combine everything, and even though if you are very open minded, you will be actually, it will overwhelm. Okay, so you environment can express itself in infinite combination of ways. So and now what will it do? It will overwhelm even if you are so open. Until we have acquired the ability to perceive every possible way in which the environment can express itself, our beliefs will always represent a limited version of what is possible from the environment's perspective, making our beliefs a statement about reality, but not necessarily a definitive statement of reality. Okay, so unless we perceive that, unless we are able to perceive each and every way by which an environment is expressing, what will happen is our belief will always represent a limited version, right? And but that's not how the environment can behave. If you find yourself taking exception to the second statement, then consider that if our beliefs were 100% true, 100% accurate reflection of a physical reality, then our expectations would always be fulfilled. If our expectations are always fulfilled, we would be in a perpetual state of satisfaction. How could we feel that other than happy, joyful, elated, and with a complete sense of well being if physical reality was consistently showing up exactly as we expect it to? So, if always, if our beliefs were, you know, um, if we have believed that, we can perceive each way how the environment is expressing, then what will happen is we will always have our expectations fulfilled, right? And we'll always be happy, and we'll always be, because we are not expecting, right? Why we are not expecting? Because we know we cannot, uh, what is it called, understand the ways by which the environment behaves. If you accept the third statement as being valid, then the corollary is also true. If you are not experiencing satisfaction, then we must be operating out of a belief or beliefs that don't work very well relative to the taking environmental conditions. Okay, so if we don't believe that, we are completely satisfied because our expectations are environment, then our beliefs are not working well with the environmental conditions, right? So taking these four into consideration, I can now answer the question, what is the truth? The answer is whatever works. If beliefs impose limitations on what we perceive as possible, and the environment can express itself in an infinite combination of ways, then beliefs can only be true relative to what we are attempting to accomplish at any given moment. In other words, the relative degree of truth inherent in our beliefs can be measured by how useful they are. So, out of these four, which one which is the truth, right? If you think that environment can express in infinite ways, then is that the truth? And if we can think that, uh, we have acquired, you know, and if we think that our beliefs is always a limited version, um, you know, so then our belief will be just a small statement, it is not the real. Or if you think that, if you don't think that, our belief is a limited version, we have infinite belief, then obviously we'll be our expectations will be fulfilled. right? And we will always be in a joy. Or if we don't agree with that, then our beliefs are contradicting with our environmental conditions, right? So which one to take? Whatever works for you, take it. That's what author is telling. And if beliefs impose limitations on what we can perceive, and then you know there is only some probability where our belief will be true, right? And it will accomplish only something because environment is actually infinite combination. Okay. Each of us has internally generated forces, curiosity, needs, wants, desires, goals, and aspirations that compel or motivate us to interact with the physical environment. The particular set of steps we take to fulfill the object of our curiosity, needs, wants, desires, goals, or aspirations is a function of what we believe to be true in any given circumstance or situation. That truth, whatever it is, will determine the possibilities we perceive in relation to what is available from the environment's perspective, how we interpret what we perceive, the decisions we make, our expectations of the outcome, the action we take, and how we feel about the results of our efforts. Okay, so each of us have a belief, and these are all the inner generated forces, basically, that is present in our mind, and that is what will actually, you know, and what we do, these forces only will motivate us to do some action, right? And and we will take some steps, and right, so at the end, what are all the steps is basically a function of what we believe, right, to be true at that particular time, and that belief will determine whatever we have some belief in our mind, right? And because of that particular belief only, we will basically understand what is available from the environment. Okay. And environment might be giving something, and how you interpret it, that is also will come from your belief. And whether you will take the trade or not, that will also come from your belief. And how much you will expect, 1:2, that will also come from your belief. Whether you will take the trade, right, that will also come from your belief. And what happens when you're successful or failure, how you feel, that will also come from our belief. So we saw the entire chapter is actually about the author is trying to tell what, right? So in this chapter, what are we doing? What is the beliefs doing? So he said the origins of beliefs, and he said how beliefs shape our life, and he said the truth, what is the truth, right? And he also said how what all beliefs you have will basically tell how you actually, whether how you perceive, how you interpret, how you decide, how you, what you expect, what will you act, and after the action has been done, the result, how you will perceive. At any given moment, if we find ourselves in a state of satisfaction, happiness, or well-being in relation to whatever we are attempting to accomplish, we can say that our truth, meaning whatever beliefs we are operating from, are useful because the process as stated above worked. What we perceived was not consistent with our objective. It was also consistent with what was available from the environment's perspective. Our interpretation of the information we perceived resulted in a decision, expectation, and action that were in harmony with the environmental situation and circumstance. There was no resistance or counteracting force offered by the environment that would diminish the outcome we were trying to achieve. As a result, we find ourselves in a state of satisfaction, happiness, and well being. On the other hand, if we find ourselves in a state of dissatisfaction, disappointment, frustration, confusion, despair, regret, or hopelessness, we can say that relative to the environmental situation and circumstances, the beliefs we are operating from do not work well at all and therefore are not useful. Simply put, the truth is a function of whatever works in relationship to what we are trying to accomplish at any given moment. So the author is telling about the belief, importance of the belief, what are belief and what is the truth, right? The truth is at the end with kind of, it's a function of whatever works in relationship to what we are trying to accomplish at any given moment. So, and so if we feel satisfied, then obviously we are there is no resistance, we are happy. And if we are not feeling satisfied, then obviously our beliefs are not working well. So if we feel satisfied and happy, our beliefs will be in alignment with the environment. If not, it will be basically, it will it will not work with the environment, it's of no use. Okay. So basically truth is, what is the truth? It what works, right, along with the particular environment. So with this we will end today's what is it called, session. We had a nice session where the author delved into what is actually their beliefs is, and how we are actually trusted with our beliefs, and how what is the nature of the belief, and what are the origins of the beliefs, that all these things are all going trusted into us. And as a baby we had a very vague we had something called only the purest form of experience, but we associate it with a some words using language, and he calls it as a concept, and that concept is actually transformed into a belief. Yeah. And that is what structural energy is. And then how beliefs are shaping our lives, how we actually uh, how the author said about how some people believe that there is no such thing as free money, and how they did not take, how a beggar took only 1 quarter, and how somebody who was curious got $10. But even then, if they had they might have felt you know losing an opportunity, missing out, if they had known that they could have asked for more. And what is the truth? Basically, whatever is how you believe, if it is in alignment with the environment, that is the truth. And based on your belief will determine how you basically interpret, how you decide, how you act, how you expect, how you feel. So this is the what part of the belief, right? The why part of the belief we will be taking in the next chapter, which is very important. Why, what are the impacts, which we'll see it in the next session. So thank you for joining this meet. I hope it was useful. Thank you for telling thanks. That's appreciated for joining. And we will continue this session the next tomorrow. Okay. Thanks a lot. Bye.